Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Over Sharon Show. We have a special guest who's actually with me. So, for the first time ever, we have a guest in studio, I guess we could say, and a returning guest.
Nate.
Yeah,
We're out
right.
of studio.
Yeah, exactly. So, hey, everybody, what's going on? Hi, Sharon. How are you doing?
I have a little bit of a dumb cough going on, so I might be muted sometimes.
Oh, that's
Otherwise, I'm fine.
okay. Awesome. Yeah, I do that all the time when you're talking. I always mute it and cough. I'm like, oh, people don't want to hear that. Well, let's see. Today we're going to be talking about movies. We talked about music the past couple of weeks. So today we're going to be talking about movies, and who else better than Adam, aka PlasmaBear, to talk about movies with. Me and him are a wealth of movie information and knowledge. And even though Sharon is not, I think that's going to play into this episode heavily. But before we get into that, everybody, we're going to do our new routine or our normal routine now. I'm going to read a quote, and then Sharon and then Adam is going to pull a card after Sharon. So we're pretty excited about that. Today's quote is from Rudolf Steiner. If we do not believe within ourselves this deeply rooted feeling that there is something higher than ourselves, we shall never find the strength to evolve into something higher. Take that, everybody.
Yeah.
All right, Sharon, are you pulling a card over there?
I am. And I pulled this card yesterday. That's the funny part.
No way.
Yes. I shuffled and everything. Queen of Cups.
Wow. That's a great card.
She is the queen of emotions.
Yeah.
She's the queen is very nurturing. So it has both feminine aspects because it's the water and the queen has the feminine aspect, and the water has the feminine aspect as well. So it's kind of a double whammy of the love, the nurturing, and the emotional energy. So that's what I remember from the read yesterday.
Wow. Look at you.
Yeah, it's like the extra feminine.
Yeah.
You know, it's the most in that suit, kind of like if you had the Knight of Wands, you know, action and fire and all that stuff. It'd probably be a good marriage between the Knight of Wands and the Queen of Cups. What did you pull over there?
I pulled the Cavalier de Deniers.
Oh my God. Dude, that's the Knight of Wands, right?
Dude, is it?
I think it is.
Dude.
I think look at it. Is that what you're looking up?
Yeah. I was
just type in that and then Knight of Wands and see if it says, yeah, I think so. No, Knight.
Oops.
Yeah. Because that's one I was just saying too.
That's crazy if you pulled that card.
The Knight of Wands has tamed his horse and could force it to turn. Yeah.
Maybe I saw it out of the corner of my eye. I don't know, man.
No,
I
man,
definitely
you did not see that.
No, I didn't. That's because I thought. See, let me see the card so I could show that. All right, so see here. I thought that was a pentacle anyway. So when I first looked at it, that the sun right there, I thought it was the Knight of Pentacles, but then I saw that wand in his hand. Yeah, that's crazy,
dude. Yeah, because that's not a sword. It has to be.
It's a wand. Club, yes, just like club.
Yeah. Wow.
So that's pretty crazy. Anyway.
Action.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, there's a certain notion of perfectionism that's associated with the Knight. And you are meticulous in your approach and should make sure that everything is planned and executed in every detail to achieve irrefutable success.
That's amazing. You know, I just want to say that I've been overcoming a lot in my life lately. I've really been trying to not ponder the orb, which just means like worry about the future, you know? And this mic that I have right here, I don't have a stand for it. And I was kind of nervous. I'm like, it's going to make this noise. And I'm like trying to figure it out, but it's working out so well. It's like better than I could even expected. So, you know, that it's like, why even worry? You know, I mean, I made it all the way to South Carolina, allegedly from Connecticut.
You might be here, maybe
in a day.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, you know, it's like just do it, man. So yeah.
Just do it, man.
What are you talking about?
We are talking about movies.
We are talking about movies. So first we wanted to say, all right, so last week when we talked about music, we were the main kind of theme we talked about, if you guys didn't listen, or if you did, for a nice little recap, we were talking to, well, actually last week was a nice conversation between me and Sarcastic Warlock.
That was real good.
Exactly.
That was
Yeah, go check that out if you haven't seen it. That was actually from November, everybody, too. So that one's I've been saving. I've been sitting on that one. See, I got some gravy sometimes, you don't know. And but the week before that, when we were doing the oversharing, we were talking about music, and the main theme really was how everything started off really good, like the beats and the lyrics and the music. And then after time, it kind of just turned into this, materialistic nightmare, right? Sorry, Britney Spears. So I think you could easily make the parallel to movies, right? So that's what we want to do. We want to talk about movies, and we have a few different things we're going to hit on. But the first thing we want to hit on is how, just like in music, movies have changed. And since Adam is such a great guru with all this stuff, we figured we'd bring him in. But I mean, I think we should, before we do that though, even we should overshare a little bit, because I know how, just like music and everything, Sharon grew up under a rock. So, and
So
she also, go ahead. You could talk about that, how you grew up under a rock and how you're not, because I can recall movies from like the 80s that I saw. I'll talk about like Police Academy, and I saw that in like 83. I mean, I saw it after that, but
wow.
yeah.
Wow, that's so funny. I kind of like when you say Police Academy, it makes me think of the cartoon, because I remember that there
That's
was a
right.
cartoon of
Did
it
do
later
that.
on.
Man,
Do you
Saturday
remember?
morning cartoons,
Do
they
you
had
remember it,
everything.
Adam?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, the
I don't know if
Police
I remember
Academy.
that
I
one.
remember it was it was funny. Um, so for me, growing up with movies and such, because I grew up under this alleged rock, we didn't have a lot of TV in the house. My eldest sister had a TV in her room, but um in the living room we didn't have anything. So it's not like it was always on and I was just always listening or whatever. The only time I had it was when I was either at a family member's house or a friend's house and they had the TV on. So that was mostly my exposure. And then if my elder siblings would take me to a movie, sometimes that would also be when I would go see something. So the funny part though is that I have a sister who's 2 years younger than me, and somehow she would get to see more movies than I did. I guess she was kind of a movie buff, and she was always up on what was coming out, and she always wanted to go see the next movie and whatnot. And I don't know if you guys remember, but there were these um mailers that would come with like they almost look like little stamps. I don't know if you guys remember, but it was like a page of stamps, but they were all movies. And then I would, like, my sister and I would go through them, and I would like check the ones that I'd seen, which was like so very few. And she would check, she would just check them all off almost. And I'm like, where in the heck are you seeing all these freaking movies? Like, I guess she was like going to a friend's house or something, or my brother's house or something, and watching all these movies. And I mean, I guess I wasn't that interested. They just didn't, I'd see the occasional one, and maybe there was one that I'd be interested in. But the other funny thing about movies for me was that I watched them just for the pure entertainment factor. I did not like uh so the thing is, if I watch them that way, then I have no recollection of them like 6 months later or a year later. I'd be like, I'll watch that again, or I'll forget that I even watched it. And then I'll be watching it and I'll be like, why does this look familiar? It's because I watched it before a long time, maybe not even a long time ago, maybe only a year prior to that. But the funny part is that that recently happened to me. The other day, I watched the movie The Mask.
We
And
just
I'm
talked
watching
about
it
Yeah,
that
we were just,
earlier.
yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
How funny. Okay, so the
crazy.
other day, like literally like less than 2 weeks ago, I watched this movie, and I'm watching it and I'm like, I feel like I've seen this before. Like, did I see clips of it, or like maybe I did, But like even toward the end, as I'm watching it, I'm going, it's just familiar. And it's almost like I must have watched it at some point and I totally forgot that I watched it. Because people would be like, have you seen the Mask movie? And I'd be like, no, I don't think so. I don't think I've watched it before. So, but now watching movies with new eyes, so to speak, I'm more careful. And so now I'm watching for stuff. And because of that, now I can be sure. I'm like, yeah, I know I saw that before because I intentionally meant to see it for the eye-opening reveals, whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of just a little bit of the background for me and my having watched movies when I was younger.
Well, Adam, why don't you
When
give
did you
us-
have your when
Go
did
ahead.
you have your own TV? Do you remember that?
I
Like,
never had my own TV until I bought my own house.
how old were you?
And even then, I don't think that was my TV. I'm trying to think because my
Well,
sister and I moved out when I was 24 and she moved out with me. She's like, I'm coming with. So she moved into my house and I'm pretty, I don't think that was my TV. I think that was her TV in our living room, in my living room. And she's the one who would turn it on and watch stuff. And I wasn't one to like walk into the house and turn the TV on. That wasn't me, but she did. So I kind of lived like that for a year or two when she lived with me.
I kind of lived, I mean, I lived under a similar rock, more of a farm rock, I guess. But I mean, we had a TV, but we weren't allowed to watch it. Like it was very controlled. And I mean, I didn't even have my own TV until it's like maybe 18 when I had like my own TV. And then my parents, I moved out when I was like 19 or 20, I think. So it's the first time I had cable TV. So I knew about like the Simpsons and things like that, but you can't watch any of that stuff. So we grew up on, like Little House on the Prairie and things like that. And my uncle had VHS tapes. And so we'd go rent, get the VHS because he had HBO. And so he would record all this stuff. But if we went to the movies is because Disney had something out. I mean, outside of that, it was like Sundays were movie days. Like after you come home for church, one of the 3 channels that we had, they broadcast movies all day. Well, maybe we'd be able to watch something on there, but that was about the extent of it. Like TGIF Fridays, that was the only like dedicated slot you could watch for that. 1 hour. You could watch Full House, which is terrible. And then you could watch
God,
like Hanging with Mr. Cooper or whatever stupid thing they had didn't last very long.
Family Matters?
Family Matters, yeah.
Urkel.
Exactly.
oh my God, I forgot about that.
Didn't I do that?
Did I?
Yeah, you
do
did.
that?
I remember my dad got so excited when it was finally time that mom approved. Yes, he can watch Rambo. He's old enough to watch Rambo. And so as soon as dad got to I was like probably 10 or 12 or something like that. It was like, all right, here's Rambo, here's Die Hard, here's Predator. So I was just like boom, 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 left and right, just kind of like, what am I watching? And then he's like, here, watch Braveheart. I've never seen Braveheart.
I haven't either.
Every time I watch it, I'm just like, I'm out. So, but yeah, I've never really, growing up, no TV really, very limited movies. I was allowed to watch Star Wars. That was really about it. And then the only channel I could really get to have like, I started like Star Trek, like science fiction stuff, but you couldn't really watch it. We didn't have any channels. We just had the rabbit ears. On Saturday night from like midnight till like 6 a.m, there was like a channel 9 that broadcasted out in Ohio. And if it was a good weather, nothing was broadcasted. You could get a fuzzy signal, like a good fuzzy signal. So like I would just stay up and watch it like those nights. And it was kind of like sometimes it was good, sometimes it was bad. But that was my TV sitting, I was my growing up, standing in front of the TV, probably about this far distance from the TV, watching fuzz and just kind of like being mesmerized by it. That was it.
Yeah, I remember staring at the TV screen that close too. They'd be like, don't stare, you're gonna go blind. And now we just look at screens all day. Whatever happened to that?
Yeah.
I had a much different experience, as you guys can already probably imagine. we had a television in the living room. This was I'm trying to think. So we moved to, so it's probably like 5 or 6. And we were living in my grandmother's house at the time. My grandfather just passed away. And so we moved in there to help out my grandma and stuff. And she moved, other story. She went to, well, I don't know who's going to be watching this. Let's just say she went to a hospital for a little while. Anyway. So we were living in the house and stuff. And we had one of those TVs that like it's what do they call them? And it's like in a cabinet or whatever. It would just sit on the floor, and it was just inside whatever one of those TVs. And it wasn't like a big screen or anything. It was like actually small, and it had the dial, and you could click it, and the numbers would come up, and they were digital. It was like click, click, click. And I think we had 3 or 4 channels, and basically the TV, from what I can remember, I think it was always pretty much on, but we didn't really, not during dinner. I mean, my parents weren't that crazy, but when I got a little older, when I got my own room, I had my own TV, and it was the same thing, the click, whatever. And I remember I would watch every morning when I got up before school or whatever. I'd watch the Jetsons, the cartoon. I remember that. Yeah.
Jetsons.
And then what else did I watch?
Leroy.
I used to watch the A-Team. Oh, I love that show. But as I got older, yes, one of those. What's it called?
It's like a Zenith cabinet TV.
Yeah, cabinet TV. That's it. Yeah.
Wow.
And then I remember. Well, do you know that's funny? The TV that was in my room growing up, the one I just described to you that my parents gave me, they still have that TV somewhere. So yeah.
Wow.
We should like set it up and put like Max Headroom on it. There's a throwback.
Set up a Nintendo or an Atari or something.
Yeah. And then after that, I think pretty much when I'm trying to think if I had a TV. I don't think I had a TV in my room when I moved because I was more into music when we moved to another house when I was 17. I might have had that one, but I didn't really watch it much. But once I got into the Marines, we used to watch a lot of TV. I mean, they even had TV on the ship. They had on an aircraft carrier, they had the new movies that were in the theater, and they were playing them for us. So that was pretty cool. I got to see Friday from Ice Cube on the carrier. I think that's one of the reasons why I was able to make it through that, was watching that movie and just dying laughing. I'm like, oh, I'll be all right now. Like, this movie exists. I can quote this for years. I could quote this in 2022. And then when I moved, I got back in the Marines and I had my own place. Well, I was sharing a place with 2 other people, but I had my own room and stuff. And I had a TV in there, and I would pretty much always have it on. So yeah, I was always having this distraction. And then when I moved to another place, I had this other place with this girl I was dating. Then we broke up, and I kept the place. So I just stopped watching TV. Basically, I dwindled down. I got rid of cable. I just watched like Netflix and stuff. And then I basically was just at that point where once in a while I'd watch a series, but I wouldn't just have TV on. I would have like maybe a podcast or music or something, or silence. But yeah, I got away from it, and it's really improved my life in so many ways. Now I can't even deal with the TV. Actually, yeah. I get anxious, and like when the commercials are on and all this stuff,
I hate it.
Yeah, it's like, it's funny. It's probably like somebody who used to smoke cigarettes or whatever, and now they don't, and then they smell other people, and they're just like, ugh. It's like that same thing. So yeah, I think this would be a good point to bring in the whole thing. I know we were gonna maybe save it for later, but I think this would be a good point because you talked about your experiences at movies. So maybe talk about that experience with the creepy and the scary movies, because we could all talk about that at this point. I think it's good because we're kind of all over sharing about our lives right now.
Yeah, I can. But I do have a question before I do.
Sure.
You guys both said you didn't watch Braveheart. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, I didn't. See, I was in the Marine Corps when it came out, and it was just one of those things where it was in the theater and I never got a chance to go. And then I was like in Italy. And then by the time I was able to see it, everybody already had seen it already. And I wasn't really alone a lot at that time. I was like hanging out with people all the time. So I was just like, it's a long movie too, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you two have never seen Braveheart to this day.
Yeah.
I've seen like the first 15, maybe 20 minutes. But as a kid, I was able to watch it twice.
So should we stop the show and should I go watch it now?
And I fell asleep.
No, because it's just funny because I don't think I've watched it either. I mean, but again, my memory is bad with that. So maybe I watched it someday, but I don't really remember it.
Oh, that's
I
funny.
think
But
the
I
only thing to
know
take
that
away
there's
is
one for sure that I've never watched. Gladiator, I never watched it.
Ooh,
And
I like that
everybody
one.
was always like, you
is that with
must
Russell
see.
Crowe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen that many times. That's so good.
Yeah.
And
And I've
Joaquin
been told to
Phoenix.
watch it, but I've just never have. And it's just like seems like a dude movie to me. So
Yeah, I think that movie kind of made Joaquin Phoenix's career probably because he was in a couple things up to that, but that role as
Yeah.
him was Caesar or whatever it was, who
Yeah.
was a emperor. I don't remember who he was supposed to be, but yeah, that was good. Uh, yeah,
yeah.
that's crazy. So we found one major movie that maybe everyone else has seen, but none of us have seen. That's great. Maybe we should all watch it and then talk about it sometime.
Maybe we should do a watch party.
Watch party.
So I guess so when we're talking about scary movies, I'll start when I was a kid. The next door neighbor, which uh it wasn't like I didn't grow up in the home that I'm talking about wasn't like a cookie cutter type home. So like there was a little bit of desert, like a little hill that you could run through, and then like the neighbor's house. So like running downhill through the desert and then to my house or whatever.
Did you have to jump
So
any fences or walls?
no. No, I did have to run up and down the rocks and mountain stuff. And
Uphills both
I
ways.
fell one time and like a little rock got in my thumb here. And I think it's still there because every once in a while when I hit it just the right way, it freaking hurts. So annoying. But anyway, for some reason, we were at my neighbor's house, I think my sister and and I think it was getting dark or whatever. And they were playing the movie The Nightmare on Elm Street. And um, I had heard of it. I knew that it was supposed to be scary, but for whatever reason, I happened to be at the house at the time. And when they started playing it, I couldn't hang. I was like, hell to the no. And I friggin' ran home and it was getting dark, if not already dark. I ran through the woods. It wasn't the woods, but the desert. All the way home. I was like, oh hell no, I'm not watching that shit. And that was when I was, I guess when it kind of had already come out and it was must have been on VHS or something, right?
Yeah.
As I got older, I was like starting to watch scary movies again. And I was kind of like, yeah, they're not scary, whatever. The only ones I would stay away from were the ones that were about like demons and stuff like that, like the exorcist type stuff. I was like, hell no. I know that shit's probably real, so I ain't gonna watch that. That's too real. Yeah. So, but any other kind of thrillers type stuff, I was like, I'll watch them. Okay, so I went to go see The Ring, and that movie freaking did it for me. Like, I never, ever wanted to watch another scary movie again after that. When I got home, I was still living at, my parents' house. And I pulled up to the driveway and I pulled my cell phone out and I called the house. And, and I was like, can somebody please walk outside and walk me inside the house?
The best part is like, that because you saw that movie, like if that lady did appear, the person who's coming out can't save you. So in your mind, you're like, I'll just push them in front of her and I'll run.
I was like, hell to the no.
Yeah.
I was like, I didn't even want to get out of that car.
Did you ever see The Ring 2? Well, obviously, probably.
No, I think that movie literally did it for me.
I don't think I've
for
seen the
all scary movies after that.
Oh, I watched The Ring 2, and there was this part where it was so freaky because so the person who had watched the movie was like a kid or something. I can't remember, but they were in a car driving, and all of a sudden a deer comes running out and hits the car. And you're like, oh, and then another deer, and then all these deer just are like sacrificing themselves to like try
familiar.
to. Yeah, it was creepy. I was like, all right, I don't know about this. Yeah. I mean, I'd love it now. I just shoot them and eat them. You know what I mean? But then I was like, oh,
Yeah, and I don't know what, like back then, the way I described it to people when I was like, I don't even comprehend why I was so scared of this movie, but it was almost like it was a mental scary. It was like it got to me here. And that's why I couldn't deal with it. Yeah.
I watched the Final Destination movies, and that was like real for me. Like it was just something about the way they play it out just makes you feel like you're actually there. This is a real plausible scenario. And now I'm sure everybody that's on the highway and sees a truck full of logs is like, I'm gonna get in the other lane because you've seen Final Destination. You're like, no.
And I used to drive a motorcycle a lot. I would always think of that. I'm like, this stupid movie every time. Yeah.
Well, I don't even think, because I don't know that movie, thank God. But when I see big trucks with like stuff on them, I'm kind of like, I'm out of your way. I do not want to be behind you.
Fun note, The Nightmare on Elm Street is actually a movie about the plasma event. Freddy Krueger is the plasma event. That's why he's red. That's why he wears the red stripes, because the hand is like the hand of God, the plasma, the hands that in the sky
through the sky with the knives.
His hand is like that. Yeah, exactly. That's the spider. That's the spaghetti monster. It's tearing through the sky, and he only comes when you're sleeping at nighttime. The whole thing's a plasma event movie.
Dude,
that'd be a fun one to break down.
Dude, yeah, that will be fun. I just thought of this other one that was creepy, but I totally had forgotten about it. Those little furry monster things, the tiny little, what were they
critters?
Called? No, not Furby. What were they, Adam? You know what
Furby,
I'm talking about?
Well, you talking about the doll with that the animatronic doll? You're talking about the cartoon.
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a Furby animatronic doll, and it was very demonic. Like, but I don't think it was a TV. I don't think they made a TV or anything out of it.
No, it was a movie, right?
Oh, movie about Gremlins.
Gremlins.
Oh gosh,
that movie was freaking creepy as all hell. Dude, what were those things? And then like later on, these Furbies came out and they kind of looked like them. I don't know.
Yeah, there's definitely a parallel there between the Furby and the creepiness of it, and then making that with the whole Gremlins thing. Totally.
What the
100%. It was like a real life Furby coming to life.
Yeah,
that was awful.
Ugh.
Yeah, Gremlins was great, and it happened during Christmas too.
Yeah.
Well, the scene was set up during Christmas. Yeah, the Nightmare on Elm Street, that movie really screwed me up too, because I was young when I saw that. And what year did it come out? Does it say?
Like 82, 89.
So yeah, I probably you say 82, 89.
Right around there.
One of those years.
So I was either 6 or 12. I don't know.
No. It's gonna be one of those two numbers.
I think it was 83, maybe 84. But I mean, I didn't see it in the theater. I remember somebody, I think, had a video or something we were watching. It was my older cousins. And so I was probably like 8 or something. And it just was, so graphic.
84.
And just 84. Okay. So I probably saw it by 86. I was like 9 or 10, and it really just screwed me up, because it's like you're sleeping and every night you got to go to sleep and you're alone, and it was just, really creepy. And I think the thing about it was kind of cheesy. So for the adults, it was still humorous a little bit. It was freaky, but so they probably didn't perceive how crazy it was for children to see like a lady in a body bag being dragged. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was
like, I don't even remember the details. I just know it was Freddy Krueger, whatever his name was.
I've blocked most of it out. I
creepy as hell, and I blocked it.
I only remember like certain parts myself.
Yeah.
Crazy. I might have watched some of the other, because they had one other one. It was like the Dream Warriors. There was one where like people actually killed him. It was like a cool one. I don't know, like these people all got together in their dreams. So yeah. I don't know, but scary movies for me though, I think that was one of the earliest ones I can remember. Friday the 13th, it was another one that was really creepy, because like after a while it just got funny or weird or just silly, but the first one was like messed up. His mom was there and stuff, or this lady had to pretend to be his mom. And yeah, it was really creepy, the stuff that they were getting into. And I think that's really what it was kind of aimed for. I mean, they got to realize that children are going to see these movies,
Mm-hmm.
and the silliness of it, the subtleness or whatever, it just escaped adults. Well, not all of them, obviously, but some of them.
Well, yeah, then they targeted with this Goosebump series, right? So they took the Goosebump series to do the same thing, but for kids. Like it's the same type of creepiness, but a little more, maybe not body bags being dragged out, but definitely
Yeah.
there's some demonic
And
stuff
those
in
were
there.
books, though. Remember?
But they made the TV series out of it, out
Oh.
of some of those books, and just
I think Nickelodeon, right? Or
Hmm.
something.
I think so.
And I remember the most recent I've been scared by a movie was probably
Gosh.
the possession. There was like a possession of Emily something or whatever.
Yeah, Possession of Emily Rose.
Yeah, that was
That was
scary
messed
because
up.
the
Never
thing
heard
about
of it.
that was I didn't understand.
Super messed up.
I had a different view of like demons and stuff back then. So I was always like, man, that be able to happen to anybody. You know what I mean? Is it real? Is it not? That and there's another the alien abduction movies. Some of those where they would they
I
would
couldn't watch
actually.
Alien.
Oh, Alien.
That's my
Oh,
favorite.
yeah. That's another one of the
Love
first
that
ones
movie.
I saw. Yeah, it was like an action kind of horror movie. I
Yeah.
actually saw Aliens first with the Space Marines. And and I watched that again recently. And it's amazing how you could just see the character flaws in the people and how they just get destroyed because of it. Like, yeah, it's nuts, man. They're like up against the literal monster, which is the monster themselves. Could it be? But I think this is a good time to talk about how movies have changed. Kind of, we were talking about music last week and how it changed. And I think a lot of the stuff is pretty obvious to people, but I think what Over Sharon's about is talking about always what's not so obvious. And these new movies today, everybody loves them, like John Wick, right? That's what we wanted to talk about. This movie and all the series, everybody, I mean, I saw the first one and I remember I was like, yeah, fucking kill those people. I was so excited about it. And I would just get like, kind of like I was in the Marines again, just getting fired up as a dude. And now that I realize what that is, it's more like a rage squirt, like you're just getting so excited and you're in your head, you're living this fantasy of violence. And I remember, I think I've talked about this before, the first time I can remember wanting to inflict violence on somebody was when I was like spanked as a child. I just like wanted to strike back and I wanted to get revenge. And
That's what it's about, revenge. That's the whole point of the movie, right?
Yeah,
His dog dies and then they just revenge.
Yeah.
I never heard of John Wick stuff until really, like literally after I met you, Brandon.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I think the first one was pretty underground. Like I don't think it was really that popular. I think it wasn't one of those underground big movies.
I don't know. I think I saw it later, so I don't remember. I think I just saw it online.
I never watched. I know I never watched it until the second one came out. I'm like, oh, it's John Wick.
Oh,
I'd never even heard of it.
I knew about it. Yeah, I definitely knew about it. But I don't know, maybe people with guns were like into it and stuff, or I don't know, like because I was in those circles a lot. But yeah, and I mean, if you haven't, I'm sure everyone knows the plot of the movie by now, but that's what it, it's just like, it's kind of like a video game. And when I was watching it, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, wow, this is kind of like a video game. So they just took the theme of these shooter video games, which is something else we could talk about some other time. And people are just so excited and they're just engaging in this revenge. And I think it's kind of laden within in a lot of people, especially people who haven't looked inside and done self-work and stuff like that. It's you just have this need to want to control or cause violence and just get revenge. And you could kind of do that through this character on the screen. You relate to him and then you're just like, yeah, kill these people. And you don't even realize like how crazy of a thought that is.
Right.
I just want to randomly murder people because somebody killed my puppy. It's like, all right, dude, that guy's probably got a family. He's just low level security. Like, Owen Benjamin broke this down a lot. If you guys don't know about that, go check that out. It's hilarious. But it's just that whole theme. And that's really rampant in a lot of these movies. You look at any of these newer movies, or even, I mean, I don't think so. I think like Rambo, like you were talking about before, that was the start of that kind of, but it just gets to the extreme it's like they're outdoing themselves, or they just keep having to outdo themselves.
Yeah, you need that dopamine rush. That's what you were saying with the video games is the same type of thing, right? Once you can accept this idea that this guy can be killed, and then like, okay, well, what if he gets killed in this way? Oh, I like that. Okay, so now you gotta make that's the new baseline. So we're gonna get that same dopamine rush of like, oh, I want that guy to die. Okay, well, you already seen him die. I've already seen a guy die with a bullet. I want to see him die with a sword. Okay, I've seen that. And so John Wick is constantly one-upping himself of what's a more gruesome way to kill someone. So next thing you know, John Wick starts off as like just, a revenge to like get to kill people. Now it's becoming more of like a horror movie of just kind of like, but you don't see it that way, right? What's the difference of like Freddy Krueger killing people and slashing people the way he does it versus John Wick anymore? He's still doing the same thing. It's the same thing. It's still being warped.
Well, there is one major difference though. The good guy is the one doing the slaughtering in the newer movies. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's crazy. That's a great parallel, dude, that you brought that up, because it shows how, just like we talked about music, how it changed. Because before, yeah, they were killing all the people, but most of them, it was the bad guys just killing all. Like the good guys basically just killed who they had to kill. Even Rambo, he was shooting people that were shooting back at him, but he was like trying to rescue people from like a POW camp. You know what I'm saying? Like,
what kind of justification? Like, okay, well, that makes sense in that scenario, right? But even like with killing itself, like you want to regress back to like even like the simpler days, the nicer TVs, right? When Little House on the Prairie and all those types of things, they still like, even with like a Rifleman, right? I think that was one of the shows. There were certain things you could not show on the TV. You could not show someone. There were like certain restrictions. Okay, well, you can't show the gun, but you can show, the guy with intention and falling on the ground. Okay, now you can show the gun, but you can't show it leaving the bullet. Okay, now you can show it leaving the bullet, but you can't see him getting hit with the bullet. Okay, now you can show him hitting the bullet, but you can't show blood. Okay, now you can show blood, but they can't be in the same scene. So they just keep like, watering it down to next thing you know, you're just watching someone like literally stab him in the eye and taking it out. And like, it's like, it's just constantly being watered and watered to get desensitized even more to accept that this is the new normal. So, even back then, they kept pushing the ante. It's no different than John Wick. John Wick was pushed the ante in one movie versus, 2 or 3 decades of like black and white films. So.
Yeah, exactly. I had a point I was going to say, but I fucking lost it. No, it's fine. It's fine. It was going to add to something you said, but it'll come back to me. Oh, yeah, I lost it again, but it's cool. Anyway, so, yeah, but another thing I was going to say is it's just like music. We talked about that, how, it started off, like you said, you could do this, it's fine. But just like in music, you can do this, but just like, you can't dance or you can't show this and all this stuff. And then it just progressed and they just keep setting the bar further and further and further. Yeah, it's crazy.
And in music, there was, parental advisory lyrics or whatnot, like what's allowed in lyrics.
I remember that. Not. I remember when those stickers first came out. Yeah.
And then that to people, like to kids, it was like, no, you have to get the one with the swears in it because, exactly. It's like you wanted that badge. They made shirts with that parental and that's kids true. Would wear them. Wow. They'd be like, yeah, it was just like a marketing scheme. Allegedly, could it be?
Yeah. Did you get the new Green Day album? I did. My mom bought it for me. Well, does it have the swear words or is it censored version? Yeah. So now you're like, oh, you're
censored.
Exactly. So now they're creating division in like, I'm just picking like in a Green Day fan. Like, well, are you a Green Day fan because you're mama's boy, or do you really like Green Day because I just picked a band? But yeah, it's the same thing.
Yeah, we get made fun of it for like, oh, would you get that tape at Kmart? It doesn't have swears in it. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you got to go to Record Town and get the whatever, or Strawberries or whatever.
Well, that was the same thing they did with the TVs when they made the TVs up, put the TVs pardon me, when they did the movies and they put the movies on a TV, right? Well, the TV version of a movie's been edited, right? It's got commercials now. All this stuff's been taken out. So yeah, I've seen that movie. Well, you haven't really seen that movie. So now there's like, I grew up seeing the TV version, not for made for TV version movies, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember what I was going to say before when you were talking about the escalation. I was like, yeah, then it gets to the point where they show blood and then you keep going. And now we get Quentin Tarantino where it's just like a bloodbath, like on purpose the other way, like crazy. And it's like comical at that point. Yeah, it's crazy.
And there was a point in time where I remember maybe I don't know, 10, 15 years ago when they were saying like, oh, the ratings are getting bad. Now what used to be PG is now more like PG-13. And what used to be PG-13 is now really more like R.
Exactly.
And then the X and the whatever. It was just like totally desensitizing people.
Oh yeah,
the
there's
ratings.
totally G movies that I'm like, that's totally a PG-13. Like there's without a doubt. But it's just been so desensitized.
Yeah.
Yeah, my kid will not watch cartoons. He's not allowed to watch TV, period. He's gonna be a book guy.
Oh.
But then of course, you know, if you say you can't have something, he's gonna be want to drawn to it. And then
Yeah.
Well, that's why you can't even say, don't even say you can't. Just don't even bring it into view. Like, don't even make it a thing.
what's funny, we usually don't we time him so that he goes to bed, and then that's when we have our dinner, and then you know we watch something on TV. Right now we're watching Cobra Kai. Freaking amazing. The TV version that's coming out 30 years later, so good.
Yeah.
But there's sometimes he's fussy, and so I'm like, okay, I'll hold him, and I'll hold him on my lap while we're finishing the show. I mean, the dude's what, 4 or 5 months old, and like he just like drawn to the TV, like just
Yep.
like eyes, gaze, mouth open, like
Yeah.
the dude's
He
4 months
knows.
old, right?
Dude, he
And then
knows.
you know when it's over, and I turn him around, like, okay, dude, enough of the TV, we're done. He starts
Nothing
to
to
get
see
like,
here.
you know, like fussy, like I wanna see more of those pretty colors. And I
Yeah.
think that's all intentional. Like, no, man, like that's dangerous.
Yeah.
Or if I have to hold him for just a few minutes while I'm doing something on the computer, he's just eyes are just drawn to it.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
It's insane. It's just like children with cell phones and stuff. When my nephews were really, really small, like months old, and then, you know, a year, 2 years old, I was like taking selfies with them and stuff. And then it got to the point where I couldn't even do it anymore. I would have to just do it every once in a while, because if I did it every single time I came over, they would scream because I wasn't showing them something on my phone.
Yeah.
It was just getting out of control
Yeah, they're like little crackheads. It's freaking crazy.
with the
I
phone.
think,
Yeah.
yeah. And then that's kind of how I was with television growing up and stuff like that. Like now that I even think back, I remember my friends would be outside playing, and I'd be like, I just want to watch He-Man. Like I don't want to go. I just want to watch these cartoons. Like, yeah. So, and I think it might be possible. I mean, I don't know. I don't have any kids, but to like kind of inoculate them, right? Like maybe that whole idea has some legitimacy, not like in an actual shot that you get, but that concept of like showing somebody a little bit of something to help them in the future with it. Because I remember my friends that were like super sheltered growing up, they always were the ones that became like crazy like crackheads or whatever. But it
Over the
wasn't,
top.
yeah, and it's not like in a way how like you said you were sheltered, Sharon. It was more of like they were still interacting with everything, and but there was just certain things like I don't know, it was just a much different situation. I guess maybe obviously because the parenting and everything like that, you know. It was the 80s and 70s, everybody. It was crazy, but I think that yeah, I don't know. It's a dangerous it could be a slippery slope though. Totally. Those screens are just so addicting.
I mean, there's been a time or two where he was just beyond fussy. It's like, you know what? I'm gonna load up just bunnies and rabbits on YouTube. And so I found some like homesteaders that that's all they had, just bunnies and rabbits and chickens going across the screen for like 15 minutes. Okay, that I can get behind because he's seeing stuff, he's learning how they speak, and you know, seeing it. But no, that's about the extent of it. Use it for knowledge, not for indoctrination.
By the way, how dare you promote another YouTube channel on this show?
I didn't name names.
I know. We just lost viewers. They're going to watch bunnies and raps. Like, you can watch bunnies and raps on YouTube.
Well, dude, I'll make my own channel.
Yeah, exactly. We'll make it right now. After the show, everybody. All right. Well, I guess the other last thing we want to talk about in this segment was well, we didn't really talk about we talked a little bit about Little House on the Prairie.
Well, I was trying to think of like a Little House on Harriet Prairie didn't really have like violent scenes or guns or deaths or really, but I was trying to think of like an old show. Rifleman was a good one. Of like for like how they kept pushing the envelope of what they could and couldn't show on TV. But even with like, it wasn't violence with Little House on the Prairie, they still pushed a lot of envelopes, right? Because it's supposed to be like a Christian-based show, and so you have people that come in that were starting to question certain narratives of the Christian stuff. Oh, I don't like that guy because he doesn't go to church and he goes home, he just sits around and drinks all day. And he just, so they keep pushing some of these, it's the same type of envelope, just, what gets your rocks off and what gets you agitated. Good, I'm going to push that a little bit more. So that was kind of the antagonist of Little House on the Prairie. It wasn't just all candies and lollipops. It was, okay, well, how can we keep people watching? What's every hero needs a villain, every villain needs a hero, right? So Michael Landon was the hero. Well, who was the antagonist for that week and why? Who was the outlaw? Even like with Andy Griffin and things like that, right?
Yeah.
So with Andy Griffin, the thing that I think they pushed, even with like Matlock was a good one, right? The thing that there was indoctrination, the predictive programming in there, we know more about law, which was like attorneys. I don't want to get too into this, but like the way they presented the courtroom was completely the wrong way. You should be against like natural law and public law. Right. It was totally private law. And so they kept pushing the private law, the way that works, into the show. Like, oh, if Matlock's doing that, and that's how, these things work. And so they've kind of changing things. And that's they just keep pushing those envelopes. Now we have like CSI and all this other stuff.
Law and order.
Exactly. So now it's more public or private law in your face. If you don't pay your taxes, you're going to go to jail. But that's not really how that works, but okay.
Yeah.
So.
Exactly. Good call.
Yeah, and that reminds me, we actually had that in our notes to talk about Little House on the Prairie and Michael Landon. That's why I think it's really cool, because Michael Landon was in The Rifleman. He used to make guest appearances, and then later they did Bonanza, and that was in color. Yeah. And then he was in that. He was the main character, and then he became the lead in Little House on the Prairie. And like you said, each time it just got a little more violence, a little more of this, a little more of that, whatever. And it was pushed as like the most wholesome show at the time. Heaven. Yeah,
Highway to Heaven. Last one, I think it was the last. Is that before he died?
Oh, that's right.
I thought you were talking about when he actually died. No.
Oh God.
Hey, he took the highway to heaven.
Maybe, who knows? Do we know?
Yeah, South Park always showed him, pictured him in hell, burning in hell, which I always thought was great.
Oh my God.
Because it's like, what do they know about him that we don't, or was it just a joke? I don't know.
Just a way to get people riled up, I guess.
Yeah.
I never watched that cartoon.
It's very interesting. Little. I used to, when it was first came out, right, that was like the thing of like pushing the envelope. Hey, I'm an anarchist because I want to like, go against the stream, and these guys cartoons, they say swear words and they do these things and they kill their own cast members every week. Excuse me. But I haven't watched it in like, years. But the last 2 years have been very interesting because they always try to keep up with current events, right? So
I can't believe it's still going.
Well, the last 2 years they haven't. So what they did is they made a non-for-TV movie for like 2020 and 2021. So they made two like movie-long movies, and there was about the whole jab thing, which was very interesting. I just wanted to kind of watch it from like, what are they saying? What are they trying to tell? What's the truth in this thing? But they're like The Simpsons. They kind of keep up with current events, and I kind of watch it just to see. I'm kind of bored. I want to see what they're doing. I can see through it all. And maybe there's a hidden message or something, but yeah, South Park.
Yeah, I should probably watch it. I was a giant fan, but I just haven't seen the last two, like you were saying, those movies. I was just like, I can't see, like, if they're selling out Cartman or whatever, I'm just like, I can't do it. Like, but yeah, I don't know. But I think that kind of brings us to, we were going to talk a little bit about Gone with the Wind or The Wizard of Oz as some old examples of older movies that were a lot more wholesome. And they still, obviously there were still things in there, because what the hell was really the Civil War, right? Come on, we all, right? Like, come on. I think if you still think that, you're not listening to the show if you still think the Civil War is what everyone told you. I don't think, unless you're a member of my family and you're like, what the hell are you talking about, Brandon? You're just watching this. That's
sorry, Mom. Sorry, Dad.
Yeah, no, not them. I'm just like a friend of mine or something. But no, they get to hear me talk about it all the time. Trust me. But yeah, And the Wizard of Oz, I think, well, obviously it was, well, maybe not so obviously, but it was a huge alchemical movie, you know, like all the themes and the symbolism in that, and the Emerald City and the Wizard of Oz. And you also get to see how it's kind of like something we're going to talk about later, but revelation of method, which, because you see the guy behind the curtain, and it's like an allegory. It could be an allegory for who's really in power and the people who are scared, and what are they really scared of? It's just a guy behind a curtain, right? So that's the wholesome kind of stuff that you used to get. But we're not really getting that stuff like that anymore. But we are getting a lot of is predictive programming, which is the next thing we're going to talk about. And so predictive programming, if you're not familiar, it's kind of like when you're watching a movie and it might be about the future, and it's some kind of dystopian thing that's going to happen, that might happen. And then like years later, it freaking happens. You're like, what the hell?
Like 1984, for example.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think we can all agree we're living in 1984.
Yeah, or any of the virus movies like we were talking about, like Outbreak or 12 Monkeys or Contagion. And so I'll talk a little bit about Contagion first, because I'm the only one out of us that's seen it. So Contagion takes place in more of a modern setting, obviously, than like Outbreak and stuff. It's like you have the internet in play, you know, you have like message boards and all this stuff. And what happens is this virus comes, I can't remember exactly where, it's probably is from China, right? It comes from somewhere, but it really impacts people, and people are really getting sick and like dying in the street and stuff. And they have this experimental vaccine, I think they're even working on, and these things that you're supposed to do. But then there's people that are quote unquote like truthers on the internet that are making videos that are saying, no, that's all, you know, that doesn't work. You got to do this. I have the solution to what's wrong. And what these people are actually doing, when you find out, they're just duping people to make money. You know, they're tricking people, which happens. That definitely happens, Hollywood. Thank you for pointing that out. But what about when people are going against the grain and they have something that'll actually make you feel better instead of an experimental medical serum? You know, like they left that out. They made this person out to be like some crazy idiot who's just trying to get attention and money and likes and stuff, you know, and he was just selling people snake oil basically at the end of the day, you know. So I think we could see there, though, because now everything that's happened in 2020, you could see that kind of how they were, or whoever made that movie, or you can even say predictive programming works subconsciously, right? People are just creating, they're just making art, because on the show, you know, we don't like to make claims or whatever. So they're making this art, and then it seems to come true later. And what I always say is, it could be that they're just so in tune with what's going on that it's just so obvious, and the writing is on the wall. And then if you also think about all these other movies that are made about stuff that doesn't come true, you're just focused on the one that did come true, you know? And I mean, but again, I'm not trying to say that people weren't aware of this, because I think you could go back far enough and see this cycle happening with like Ebola and AIDS and all this stuff. And it's just like obvious. It's just a slow moving, you know, it's a danger, but it's very slow moving until 2020. And then it's like everything's locked down. So, but yeah, that's basically in a nutshell, though, what predictive programming is.
I'm in a nutshell.
But we also wanted to talk about Outbreak, because that movie's a lot more popular.
They used to think I was crazy, but now I see your nuts.
Now I see your nuts.
Yeah, Utopia was an Amazon movie or TV series. It was like maybe 2 years ago, and it was fully about, you know, this virus, take this jab, how this thing and people watch it now, and it's kind of like, that's exactly what just happened, you know. So there's plenty of movies that are out there that are like that have to do with medical interventions for these things that are man-made. But then, as you said, okay, well, there's other things out there that didn't come true. So I think they kind of like the influencers that be or try to be put out a bunch of different egregores and just kind of see, okay, who's going to feed on what, and they can kind of, however they're measuring egregores, right? These ones seem to be having more energy, so let's make more movies or things and TV shows or music that seems to be feeding that one. And I think however you can measure that, which I'm sure influencers can, they just keep feeding that egregore however they can. And I think where we're at now, that's what you're saying. We're focused on all the ones that point to this, but there are plenty more. So I think this is just where we're at. This is the egregore that we're in. Or don't feed it. Like, I still don't feed it, but other people are. So I just have to shift around it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I definitely feed a different egregore, and that's the whole sky ripping open plasma stuff. But there's plenty of that stuff. Like, Netflix's biggest hit for Christmas Day was the movie Don't Look Up. 100% plasma, apocalyptic, revelation, end of time. It was that the whole movie. So that's another egregore I see it's happening. But anyhow, that's a little bit of
Well, also, you were
Right.
telling me earlier about don't look up doesn't just mean don't look up at the sky.
not physically looking up. It actually means like, don't do your own research. Trust the
Yeah.
science, trust the data point.
Don't
When you
look
go
it
on
up.
YouTube and you see the little Wikipedia box, trust that, because it's all, so it's don't look up the research, it's
Information,
trust us, right? So that's why the government in the TV show or the movie was like, don't look up, hashtag don't look up. But everyone else was like, dude, just, go do the research. And in this instance, looking up the research for yourself just happened to be literally looking up, right? So, but there's more. You can, if you really go to break down into that, if in that event, should that event happen and occur, one's to speculate, you don't want to look up. You don't want to, because it's going to be so beautiful and magical that you might get sucked up and raptured into it. Well, there's good and bad to, I'm way off topic, but there's good and bad to like being raptured and bad and being up. So it's kind of like a don't look up, but do look up, but don't look up, but don't look up, but do look up. So it's kind of like it goes back and forth if you keep diving into it. So it's a fun movie. I thought it was fun.
Oh, at least you enjoyed it though. That's
Yeah,
good.
it was like I was saying before, it was like the movie Idiocracy. And it just kind of really revealing of like how stupid people are right now, that you could tell them point blank exactly what's going to happen. And they're just like, duh, what? What are you talking
I
about,
could
man?
not
Just
watch
give me
that.
my thing. Because Idiocracy was a guy transferred into the future, and Taco Bell was now your government, and everyone's just was stupid. Well, that's the same thing it's the same thing. It's the same movie.
Dude, I could not watch Idiocracy. I think I watched like 5 minutes or not even. I was just like, I can't do this. I
Well,
just can't do it.
it's interesting because it's
So
supposed to be a
ridiculous.
comedy movie, and I think that's the same thing with this Netflix. They wanted to be the comedy, but the main who was that Wilson brother? Not Owen Wilson. Who's Owen Wilson's
Luke.
brother? Luke Wilson. So Luke Wilson is supposed to be like the normal guy,
Yeah.
and everything around him is funny. But if you actually put yourself in his shoes, everything's stupid and retarded. Well, that's the same thing with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Reality? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, us just kind of going about our day, going to the mall.
Exactly.
But that was Leonardo DiCaprio. Like, he's like the guy. He's like the only one that's actually taking this reality seriously, and everyone else is just kind of like, what?
Well, back to something you said earlier about an egregore you are feeding. Why? I just have to ask, why that one? And like, if the predictive programming is there for something that is not true, could this apocalypse thing also be another?
So we were having a little bit of a conversation earlier kind of about this, right? It's like, okay, so I live on South Carolina, and if I follow this whole thing through and it actually happens, even let's just say the way I think it's going to happen happens exactly. Okay, well, the entire East Coast should be flooded, and this, will be flooded.
Surf's
Okay,
up.
well, if I am created in the image of God and I am God, and therefore, I can manifest these own things, and then fine, okay, I know this is going to happen. Well, I don't consent to allowing this flood to flood my land. So I'm making an external, an esoteric contract saying I will survive this because I want to see what's on the other side. And that's the whole thing. I want to be Alice. So I see it as my looking glass, right? I want to go through the looking glass to see what's on the other side, because I think what's on the other side, not utopia, that's not the right word, but like a Eden-esque garden, right? What does the world look like if it was base zero? There was no corporation, there was no monetary value. People actually wanted to help each other. People are using their minds to communicate telepathically. The sky's literally the limits because we can see the skies. Michelangelo, I think he painted what he painted, all those people in the skies and angels, because I think he saw that up there. Well, we can't get that under this sky, allegedly. I'm not making claims. I'm just saying for my thing that I'm doing my research on.
Research, yeah.
So the reason why I keep feeding it and keep researching it is because, I am where I am right now because that's where I am. I seen some guy say, okay, well, what happens if the plasma thing or the sky doesn't rip open? What are you going to be doing? What would you do then?
The same
You're
thing
looking
that
at
you're
it.
doing.
You're looking at it. I'm doing what I'm doing right now, and I'm going to keep doing it. I'm building Bartaria out there.
Yeah, he is.
I am trying to be self-sustained. I wake up every day. I'm thankful for every day. I know what's not real. And I know, okay, well, this is great, but I know things can be better because I still have to work. I still have to toil. I still have to give effort. What if I don't have to do any of that stuff? What if we're all talking and communicating and we don't have to do fuss with technology? So anyhow,
Telepathically.
so that's why I feed it, because I want to know what's on the other side. I imagine the other world, but still appreciate where I'm at now. Is that weird? It's very
It's
split.
Yeah.
No, I
No,
see it.
thanks,
Well, I
yeah.
like it because you're not coming from a place of fear, it seems. You're
Right.
just coming from a place of wonderment and curiousness,
Oh, yeah.
which I like. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's no fear about the event. Like I love my life now, and I know life is going to be great tomorrow, the day after that, and the day after that. But I
Yeah.
definitely think I'm here now to see whatever this event is, to go through it, and I think it's exciting. I think it's the most terrifying thing I've ever witnessed, anybody ever could, and I am excited about it.
What if it's really like this plasma event is just when the virtual reality rolls out and the metaverse is ready?
Oh, gosh,
That what if no. Well, what if all the sky cracking is just allegory to when all those people get sucked into the thing, and it will be Eden because there'll only be like a handful of us left that didn't put the glasses on.
Yeah.
And that's when the real Illuminati comes out and goes, hey, you guys, you won. He's like, all these other people, see you later. Here we go.
Right. Yeah, you guys go to the fourth dimension, you guys are going to the second. Like, you guys are going down.
Yeah. You guys, you didn't put the glasses on, you won. Let's go. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a real sky crack now. Who knows? I don't know. I don't want to make claims.
Well, I was saying before, I'm sure like the carotene event was like in 1860, right? So was that a big event? Was that a big reset? Was it a smaller one? Like, I think based on the way the sky works, each age, I was saying before, is like 2,160-ish years allegedly, right? So, okay, well then the great year is 25,000. So if each one of those is like a marker for whenever a small or big reset happens, however, plasma, solar ejection, eclipse, however that stuff works, you might have a localized version, like Sodom and Gomorrah got destroyed because they happen to be in maybe one of the deacon resets, right? Just because there's a great reset doesn't mean there can't be 12 smaller resets, which doesn't mean there can't be 3 deacon resets per 12 resets. I don't know. I'm just saying, like, there's some weird stuff that happens that can't be explained, that don't have good timetables. So I don't know. I accept all things. I think the whole concept is interesting. I like the whole electrical universe idea. And so, there's plenty of movies out there that feed into that. And what's interesting is, I'm going to bring us back, is with some of the stuff like the 1984, with like the 12 Monkeys, all this stuff kind of pushing that egregore, those agendas forward. And we can see that manifesting now. Okay, well, I can still show you all these apocalyptic, sky ripping opening things that are equally being pushed just as hard, but people may not be seeing it. Like Fortnite, huge pushers of it. Little games like rocket games, like a race car game. Their big promotion this month was that the sky ripping open, and we're opening up a new arena in the space. What? You're a rocket car game. You just race cars. Why are you bringing that into it? I think it's bringing into it because it's inevitable and they have to expose these things. So if it was stupid and silly, like a little thing just kind of brushed to the side, why does it have as equal as a platform as do some of these, outbreak movies? Why they have the exact same amount of push towards, the public eye? It's interesting, the question to ask. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, every kid plays Fortnite or has played Fortnite, I think. So yeah, go ahead, Sharon.
I was just going to say, just as these movies that they've made about outbreaks allegedly and all these things. And they're putting them out there because they want to put some sort of message out, right? And there maybe their twist on what. And so to me, I think if they're pushing these sorts of narratives about the sky cracking open and the spaghetti monster, it could be as well, because if they want to, they can also try to fake it with their alleged technology as well. So I don't know. That's just a thought.
Well, I think one thing we also, yeah, that's actually a really great point. I don't want to just gloss over that because Blue Beam, right? Project
yeah.
Blue Beam, what's all that about, right? So
exactly.
yeah, that could
And
totally
the
be.
Chinese New Year, all the stuff that they did for, I mean, I can't tell. It looks
Isn't that-
CGI to me,
Wasn't that
but
just, didn't that just happen? Wasn't that the 10th Chinese New Year? You talking about what just happened?
I'm just talking about the New Year. Remember that video that one of our friends sent out in Telegram?
Oh,
And
the
it was
Chinese
like
mirror.
The fireworks you're talking about?
the
Demonstration?
fireworks and their New Year's like big old deal exposition.
Yeah, I think I know. Yeah, it looked like it was fake or whatever.
It
Is that what
looked
you're talking
fake
about?
to me. I mean, even Adam thought it looked fake and like CGI.
Oh gosh, yeah. I'm sorry. I know what you're talking about now. Yeah, that was totally. It looked like it was someone had a still frame camera on wherever that location was, that locale. I think he had 2 or 3 different angles of it, but I think that was that real feed that was coming in that was being edited and CGI'd. I think if you found someone that had a handheld camera that was filming the exact same thing side by side from these people, I think it was just. I don't think there was anything there. I don't think there was
Right.
really a Project Blue Beam actually being broadcasted into the ether, manifesting real light. I think it was all on the computer.
Right, that's what I was thinking. It didn't look real, but who knows? Anyway, did I interrupt somebody?
No.
Brandon, were you saying something?
I'll come back to me. It was something about something, you know. I know that this we were going to talk about Revelation Method. We were going to also talk about The Simpsons, though, before we did that with the predictive program, because everybody will say that, oh, The Simpsons, like in South Park, actually, South Park does an episode about The Simpsons, and in it, they're like, Simpsons did it. So every time they have this idea for a project they want to do, that one of the kids goes, Simpsons did it. Like they already did it. They already did it. Like they already, you know, and after, like, they've done that premise. That's what they mean, right? So, and then the guy, like, after a while, they're just like, yeah, they've been around so long that they're going to cover everything. And I think that, I mean, now it's even been another, 20 years since that episode was out of South Park or whatever. So, but the predictive programming in there I mean, I'm like losing what I'm trying to say. Guys, I'm losing it. No, it's just so like, every episode, it feels like has something in it. You know, I remember they did an episode about this SUV called the Canyonero, and it was like the biggest episode ever. And then like the Ford Expedition came out like not too long later, or maybe it was after that. But are you familiar with The Simpsons, Sharon? Have you?
So I did get to see some of the Simpsons stuff,
I do remember this.
but
Sorry.
you're fine. But I'm not, I mean, it wasn't a cartoon I was allegedly allowed to watch.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then as I got older, like I would see it at somebody's house or something sometimes, but like not, I didn't see it a lot. So later on, it was like I would see reruns maybe, or, but I don't remember it being like something that I watched a lot of even later on.
Yeah, I was.
But I
think
do, I mean, I know a couple of the characters. I mean, I knew the characters and everything, but
I pretty much grew up watching. I remember watching. There was a Tracy Ullman show, and The Simpsons was like a side thing. From
That's it. That's actually what I was researching right now. I was trying to think what
you're
it was.
looking
That's
up,
what it was.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I used to watch that, the Tracy Ullman show, and then they would just cut to these shorts, and it was The Simpsons, and then they made The Simpsons into a TV show, and I was like a
Oh.
giant fan, and I used to have like, you know, Simpsons shirts and all kinds of stuff, like T-shirts and all this stuff, and I think before the reason I was getting tripped up was because I kept wanting to go into revelation of method. So I guess we could just talk about what it is, like, because The Simpsons really, it does have, it feels like predictive programming, but also it's revelation of method, very adjacent to that, I guess you can say. What that is really, it's revelation of method is been known. It's kind of, it's showcasing how, I guess you could say, the influencers or controllers, or how something is done, like just like we were talking about Wizard of Oz, right? So they go to see this wizard, they're talking to this giant thing that's like breathing steam and flames and all this stuff, and they're scared of it, and then they realize that it's really just a person, like a little dude behind a curtain, right? And if you could take that as allegory, or like to government, basically. So we have all these people like Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden, like they were putting stickers in Connecticut, maybe other places too. And it's like Joe Biden going, I did this. And they're like pointing to the gas, right? But there's how many senators? 50, 100, right? Too. And then how many ever representatives? And then like the president, like it's still under 1,000 people, right? I mean, how many people do we have in this country? If a tenth of them just stood up, or I'm not saying to get crazy or whatever, but if they just decided to turn around and do their own thing and not pay attention to the government, what could they do? That's, so I think that right there is a little bit of revelation of method, how it's showing
100,
what's going on. 100 senators, right, super state. So it's just it's a little peek behind the curtain, if you will, no pun intended. Nice. with the Wizard of Oz, of how things work and how it could work. But of course, because they're movies, they don't show you exactly how things are done. I mean, sometimes the movies will, right? But most of them, it's just set in like an allegory or story, and it's trying to show you that a little bit. What do you think about revelation method?
Yeah, I think I sometimes think that the Wizard of Oz, let them see him behind the curtain, because it was still misdirection after that. Even if he didn't let them, he still had more aces up his sleeve, because he started giving them tricks and like started dangling things in front of their face. So like, oh, you want knowledge? Okay, here, go to my, school of learning, my indoctrination camp, and you can have a diploma for the education that I say you should know. Now you know that, and he did that with everybody. So it's still kind of like, oh, you caught me, but here's what you want, right? You've always dreamed of having this. Here, how about my version of that? Not the real knowledge. Like the knowledge is with you all the whole time. Just use that instead of relying on someone else's set of knowledge. So you still misdirect them. Yeah. So it's aces up his sleeve. That whole movie is very, very interesting.
Well, that kind of reminds me of like when you wake up to some truth, but then you can get trapped in another trap, like the truth or trap or whatever. It's the same type of thing. You're just playing these games. And if Dorothy just turned around and said, screw you guys, I'm taking these ruby slippers, everyone would have been like, no, like then she would have had the power. You know what I mean? Like it's like it's like a game for attention, really, as I see it. If you could just get as much attention from people. And I think another thing that revelation method does is it's so I know, to me, people like me watching stuff, I was always engrossed and always wanted to look into it and watch it, and it got my attention. It's very attention grasping. I don't know if that's the right word. Sharon?
Grabbing. Yeah. I think you wanted to bring up the Matrix.
Well, I just want to know, did you have any kind of questions about revelation method or anything like that? Or did we cover everything?
I think we did. Yeah, I think we covered it.
I just wanted to see if there's any questions in your mind. Yeah, so I think the Matrix definitely is probably one of the biggest movies you could look at that's as popular as it is as revelation of method. I mean, They Live is another really good one too, right?
So good.
Have you seen They Live, Sharon?
I did recently watch that within the last few months. I saw.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah, so I think that's a really good one. The Matrix, because spoiler alert, if you haven't seen The Matrix, the old one from '99, we're talking about still. It's it's about this guy who's a computer programmer, hacker, and at night, right, he's a hacker, and then during the day he has a normal job. And you think about it's like a normal person, right? Because like for me, for example, I was doing my thing in my job, but then at night I was another person or whatever. I wasn't like a fucking car salesman or whatever. Right? I was like going out and partying and all this stuff. Not really partying, I guess that's the wrong word. Drive motorcycles around trying to hook up with girls. You know how it is, guys. Women, living women. So, and then what I didn't realize was I was entrapped in this, I guess you could say matrix, this web of really materialism. That's what I wanted to say earlier. And I remember what I was going to say about the plasma event. Okay. So we'll put a pause on that, the matrix, but go back to that plasma event thing really. We were talking about materialism last week with music, right? They're trying to push materialism, movies. They're trying to push materialism, religion, thought, or whatever it is, cosmology. They're trying to push materialism. Why? I don't know why, but what do we know? It's not all there is, right? It may be at least half of it. The other half is this spiritual thing, like in the Matrix. There we go. We could bring it back, right? The people in the Matrix, they thought that if they died in the Matrix, they really died. So therefore they did. They didn't realize what was really going on, right? Like the people who lived in there or whatever. So just like that, what if if this event happens that all these movies keep pointing out, like the skycracking event, who knows what's going to happen? Who knows what that means? If it's a spiritual thing, we probably won't have to worry about it all as long as we're at the right vibration. And what's the right vibration? I don't know, but I could tell you what the wrong one is.
Exactly.
Fear.
Exactly. See?
Fear is the wrong vibration. Sorry.
Right.
Process of elimination, man. It's exactly what it is. I might not know what the answer is, but I know what the answer is not.
I don't know what to do here, but this guy doesn't want me to go all in, so I'm all in. Yeah, it's like poker. Yeah, and then just like in the Matrix, the people caught in it are so, I guess dying was a bad example, but we'll just say they're so invested in this game called the Matrix. They're trying to win and they're trying to get all this money and be rich or whatever it is that you were trying to do in 1999. But the people who woke up realized that party materialism, right? But the people who woke up, they realized that it was all fake. It was all illusion. So yeah, they could still die, I guess, if they die, but the other stuff didn't matter. Like trying to, like if somebody was like, say you wake up, right? Like you're Neo and then you go back in the Matrix and someone's like, I'll give you $1 million to do this. You're like, why do I care? It's like,
did you finish your TPS report? What?
Yeah.
No.
It's like you're playing Grand Theft Auto and it's just fake money. You know what I mean? Like it really doesn't matter at that point. There's another revelation.
Love that shit, dude. They love their little games, playing their little games, and they pay real money to get tokens to buy more farm animals and to, like, why don't you do that in real life then?
Right. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like they say why you shouldn't talk about your future plans, because you get that same dopamine rush as when you do it.
That's right. You lose that energy to manifest that because you lost a little bit of that energy that was you could have used to manifest it. That's another reason why I don't like to share what I'm doing outside. People are like, why don't I have a YouTube or Instagram or Facebook? No. I use that energy. I keep that for myself. Yeah. So even though I made a little 6-minute thing the other day, when I made that, I didn't do anything from that day on until today. I did nothing because I felt like I lost a little bit of that energy. And so now I'm, after this trip, I know I'll come back in full force, but I don't do that because I feel that energy loss because I'm sharing it and I'm talking about what I'm going to do. Well, okay, well, I've lost that. I've lost that potential. It's real. I feel it. So I believe that.
Are you trying to say that oversharing is bad? No, I know exactly what you mean, dude. Yeah, no, that's really, that's great. I just
orb sharing. How about that?
Yeah,
pondering your orb with other people. Yeah, it's certain to see so far might be dangerous.
Yeah, well, especially when you're talking like again about your future actions or what your plans, what you want to do. And I've been guilty of that so much. So now that I heard something cool, which is like instead of telling people what you're going to do, you just say, wait, why don't you wait and see?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Wait and see.
Wait and see.
Because I'm going to do
my grandpa would always do. You just got to wait and see. All right.
Yeah. See, look at that brilliance. And that I think is still passed down from the stuff that we don't get. It's like the former shadows of their, it's probably what their grandparents said to them, It's crazy. And now we just tell each other, what up, dude? I don't know. Yeah. So the revelation method, though, to bring it back, I think the reason why it's done, I feel like it's part of a way to actually control a person or to influence them to the point where it seems you have control over them, right? It's because if you have the truth out there, then another thing is too, if you also put the truth on there, it's not on you anymore.
Right.
At some point you're kind of excusing yourself from cosmic, or you might believe you're excusing yourself from a cosmic, like karma or breaking natural law or whatever it is, because you are informing people of what's going on. So they're kind of choosing it at the end of the day. And I think revelation method allows people to hide behind a liability shield, or maybe at least let themselves sleep at night and just say, hey, these people are, they're choosing it.
I mean, I'll argue for the other side of the fence, but the sheeple, because
Let
let
me ask you this really quickly. Do you drink fluoride?
No.
Exactly. I don't. Sharon doesn't, but do a lot of people do it? Yeah. Well, guess what? I mean, who's it on?
Exactly.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just don't think there's full disclosure in some things. Like the fluoride's a good example, because they do let you know that, and they got the backing from the 4 out of 1 dentist says it. But the other dentist, or 4 out of 5 dentists, but the one dentist, he's dead, like he died, but
he's based.
So that's how they got the approval for the fluoride. But I think there's other things like there's just certain other things I don't think there's full disclosure on, that I think that they're getting away with. The whole jab thing, there's more than full disclosure. This is the biggest full disclosure on anything in your face. But there's other things that I don't think, like
the birth certificate.
I was gonna say, I didn't know how far I could go. I didn't know how oversharing I could share.
It's oversharing.
But yeah, the birth certificate, public law, private law, natural law. Like there's a lot of things that they don't, licensing, taxes, citizenship. That's not disclosed. That's not at all.
No.
Why does the mother, when they have to fill out the live birth record at a hospital, why does it say informant? Why does it say informant? Why doesn't it say mother? Because an informant tells on somebody else. So they're ratting their own kid out to the state, making the mother a delinquent. Not a delinquent. It's another D word. She's an informant.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. The derelict. No.
You can derelict my
You
balls.
can derelict your own balls, El Capitan. Why don't you derelict your own balls? Yeah, that's what he says. Dude, Zoolander. It's a movie, so we can quote it.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah. But see, this is the thing. If I was one of those people, I'd say, well, then why did you come to my hospital? Why didn't you just have your own baby? You know what I mean? Not you, but I'm saying, like, if I was one of these people, like, there's just so many levels, and obviously, so, well, I didn't know, but I think it's just because, like, the information exists in the environment. It's not always easy to find, but now with the internet, it's just like,
because it's like the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, right? When they're coming to demolition Earth, and people are like, well, we didn't know about you going to demolition Earth. Like, what are you talking about? We've had it in our public libraries, our public note. It's been on public notice for the last 100 years. Sure, it's on a different planet, right? But it's on so it's in the ether. It exists. It's out there. We've put it out there. I'm sorry, it's time to demo the Earth.
Messed up, dude. That's one of my favorite movies too, because it's just there's just so much in those movies.
I gotta watch that again. It's been a long time.
That's so good. Especially the opening.
Yes. So long, and thanks for all the fish.
Maybe I didn't see that movie then. I don't know. This isn't sounding familiar.
Well, there's an old movie. There's an old version of it, and then there's the newer one with Mos Def
and the Hobbit dude.
And the Hobbit dude.
Oh yeah, I definitely didn't see that.
And I like that one. I mean, really I've never seen the original.
It's got Zoe
Deschanel.
Yeah,
Zoe Deschanel's in it.
And
is it? Yeah, I think
that's Zoe. What's that comedy guy again? It's good. You have to watch it.
I like it. It's one of my favorite movies.
It holds up.
Well, everybody in the chat, what are some of your favorite movies that are around now, or that might show, a little bit of revelation of method or predictive programming? I think they're just like two, like one's the beginning and one's just the end of it. It's like, and another thing, I don't know if we really covered predictive programming. Maybe we did, but like the reason for it, or maybe we could speculate. And I think that is you guys, we think we touched on it a little bit before, but it's if you can get an idea into the zeitgeist of so many people that I think you can actually have it manifest, so you can create it. And even if it's just not for an exact thing you want, it could be like a state of mind you want people to exist in,
100%.
And they just, because of the predictive programming. And another thing I think really about it is you can introduce an idea to people, and then they could be ready, even if they don't agree with it. And like a lot of people talk about this, like Crow and stuff, but like the outbreak thing or contagion and all this stuff, everyone's like, oh, that's so ridiculous, that would never happen. Like, and then all of a sudden it happens, and it's just they're familiar with it. So I don't know, maybe
you're still creating, even if you think it's ridiculous. You've created in your mind that scenario, and then you've rated it. Yes, this is great. No, this is stupid. I don't know, but you've created that entire environment, and now that, however that's used and measured, it exists. And if you create that same environment, think, oh, this is be awesome, I want that. There's two. So I think it doesesn't matter how you rate it, it exists and you manifested it.
And it feeds the egregore, like you were saying earlier. It goes right to that. Go ahead.
Because go ahead.
I was just going to say, Crow talks about that as the Overton window, how they present something so ridiculously radical that you would never think could happen or would happen. And then they slowly just make it more possible, just because they keep showing it over and over and over.
Oh, and another thing it does too is it shows, it makes you feel less bad about the current tyranny you're experiencing, because it's like worse. Like, well, at least it's not that bad. Exactly. And then it gets that bad, but the next movie's even worse. So like, well, at least they're not shoving a robotic dildo in my butt. And then, did I just manifest that? Oh no. But it's like, well, that's kind of like the Matrix. They have all these things just shoved into them. You know what I'm saying? Yeah,
exactly.
So, there's one for the anus. Come on, it's Keanu. He was like, that's why I don't want to leave the Matrix, guys. Anyway, that's my humor today. Well, anything else we wanted to talk about?
I was going to comment. The last thing was like, even in one of Jesus's teachings, he was, I'll paraphrase it all, but he was just kind of like,
we go from anal raping to Jesus on this side.
Exactly.
Thank you for cleaning the palate.
Oh, anal raping. Let me teach you something about what Jesus said.
Yeah.
He's like, if you've killed somebody or did something wrong to your brother or neighbor in your mind or your heart, then you've actually have already done the thing. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, if that exists, and that same thing happens if you've manifest something of a reality of, I don't know, an outbreak or a civil war or a sky ripping open, right? If I've manifested, therefore it's the equivalent of it happening. So he's giving you a little nugget right there, telling you how it works. It's not necessarily just about your actions. It's about your intent, your thought, and what you manifest.
And the crazy thing about that is too, because what we know, or what we believe to know about the whole 2020 thing, is that terrain theory. I'll just say that, right? So it's possible that nothing really out of the ordinary happened. Maybe it was just more of a severe detoxification or whatever. But like, because of the predictive programming that's out there, it's in people's brains that it's able to happen. So therefore it does happen to them. And it's a similar concept that I talk about like money. I'm like, what is money? It's a piece of paper. We all just give it that value. I can go into a store and give them a piece of cotton and they'll give me $20 American worth of merchandise, because we all agree on it. And it's the same freaking thing.
They're
like space and AIDS,
IOUs, people. Right. They are IOUs.
Yeah, well, not even. Money. It's technically, it's just a piece.
It's worse than that.
In the physical matter, it's just a piece of cotton. And people's beliefs hold that. They'll give you this for that. You know what I'm saying? Like but you're right too. It's even worse. Yeah. It's debt. It's an IOU. You could just keep going to what it really is, which is even worse. But yeah, that whole just mind idea. And that's how I believe these things are able to exist, because so many people, if you could just put a little bit of doubt in their mind and a little bit of fear in their mind, then they're gonna balk when it's important. When they say you must put a mask on, they're gonna go, all right. Not everybody, obviously, not anyone on this show, because I've never worn a mask. Actually, you know what? I have to make a confession, guys. In 2020, I was sanding a room. Helping my parents
for sandpaper.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry.
Yeah, and I put one on. Yeah, I was sanding, so I put it on because I didn't want to fucking inhale tiny particles of things that would actually harm me that I know that I have
Sawdust.
evidence of that can harm me, you know? So,
Yeah.
but yeah. So a tool, everything for its place. I'm not totally
Plywood
anti-mask,
variant.
you know? Yeah, exactly.
What'd you say?
The plywood variant.
Yeah.
The lead
exactly.
variant, lead paint chips.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great point though. Yeah. Sharon?
Well, I think we did it. We covered it all. I hope so.
Yeah, I think so.
Looks good.
Are you pleased with the way I ran everything?
Yes. Thank you so much.
Yeah, just so everyone knows, we'll let everyone in on, she sent me the list, and because we were talking about how the show was going to go, I had these ideas, and she's kind of like, you know what, I'll let you run it. But the way she said it, she's like, I'll let you run it. Can we call it the Over Brandon show this week? No, I don't want my name on this one now. But yeah,
It's
look at
mostly
it.
because I keep coughing.
Yeah, that's all right. I didn't even really notice, honestly. So,
I was trying to mute when I needed
oh,
to
good
cough.
job then.
Nice.
Did a great job.
Nice.
All right. Well, thanks to everybody in the chat. Thank you guys. We love it so much. Even though last week I was driving, I allegedly
He was traveling, but I'll correct him.
Traveling.
I was traveling at the speed of light. So I was able to get a couple messages in, but I did not want to put my life at risk and read the chat. I'm not that silly because it was already at night. So yeah, but no, I enjoy, that's like one of the favorite parts of my week. I've talked about this with Sharon before. We love it because we get to come in here with all these fun people who love us so much and like to hear what we say, and they comment, and it really is, it's kind of like a dream of mine, like a little Brandon. If you said to him, you're going to have a show someday and people are going to watch it, I'd be like, wow, how many people? And if he was, we get like 100 views, but yeah,
Like
live 6 to 18. I'm still like, yeah. I remember when I first live streamed, and it was like cheap and easy to do it, like in 2013, it was a delay or whatever, but we would live stream, or 2014, we'd live stream these comedy with other comedians, and we get like 8 viewers, but we were so excited. Sometimes we had like 3, but we didn't care. We're like, someone's watching. Yeah. So I'm really excited and thankful, everybody. So thank you. But make sure you share it and hit thumbs up too, and like it. No.
Or down.
Don't-
Thumbs
That's
down
asking
it.
too much,
Unsubscribe.
Brandon.
Do whatever you want.
Just tell a friend about us. Just be like, do you like to overshare? Or maybe you shouldn't. You know what? How about this? How about, I got an idea. No one's ever going to tell you this. Why don't you not share this with somebody who you think it might offend? Or don't try to woke rape anybody with the show. That's not what this is about, anybody. No, this is about comedy and oversharing and asking questions. So, and having fun. Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
That was fun.
yeah. Thanks, man. Oh yeah. Well, thanks for coming on again, Adam.
Yeah,
I
sure.
didn't mean to be a rude
It
guest
helps
there.
that you guys are in the same location.
I had to really fuss to get on the show. He's like, I'm gonna do a show. I don't think you want to be on the show, but thanks for thanks for hosting me. And can you feed me dinner first, and then just go in another room?
Yeah.
I got things to do.
Can you just go in there in
Please,
the bathroom
sir,
and just sit on? Yeah.
And wait
was like,
till I'm
all right.
done.
I'll let you on over Sharon, but listen, to nobody else. No.
It's good, man. It's so his presence is amazing. It's fantastic. His energy on the show is exponentially folds and folds over more in person. It's fantastic. So
Thank you, man. I
Yeah.
really appreciate it. It feels great to be appreciated for what you are for once, instead of just like, oh, which I don't mind. I enjoy that reaction from people. It's comical to me, but it's nice to be appreciated sometimes. But yeah, thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And all right, Sharon, what do we say to the people?
That if you're not oversharing,
Then you're totally not caring.
that's right.
So make sure you overshare and be fair. I don't know. I got to hit stop. All right, guys. Thanks. Till next week. We'll talk to you, and maybe we'll all be in the same room next time. Now,
Yeah, maybe.
who knows? Good night.